what happens when a love for art, culture, and community transforms into a thriving boutique hospitality business in the hills above Rio. In this Soulful episode, I sit down with passionate B&B owner Dacia Young, who left behind the familiar and followed a dream all the way to Brazil's bohemian heart in Santa Teresa. We explore how her unique 13-room heritage property named Casa Jomo became more than just a guest stay. It became a reset space, a sanctuary for rest, reflection, and realignment. Dacia is a beautiful woman with a beautiful spirit, and in this episode we talk about why she chose a boutique hospitality business over the typical tourist model, and how her family-run B&B delivers that wow factor with local art, garden views, and homemade breakfasts. We also talk about what inspired her to launch her reset retreats and how they're helping guests slow down, reflect, and restore. She shares the power of hosting transformational experiences and what guests really want from a retreat, and the behind the scenes of what it's really like to move abroad and build a business around a different pace of life. So if you've ever dreamt of running your own business in a vibrant new country or building a retreat that offers more than just pretty views, this episode will leave you inspired, grounded, and full of ideas, especially if you've always wanted to visit a country like Brazil. This is episode 71. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the business of glamping and unique holiday rentals. So let's talk about where you are and the business you currently have in the place that you are located.
Thank you, Sarah. It's so good to talk with you today. So I'm currently in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. So right now we have a property that is 13 rooms, but we rent out 8 rooms as a boutique hotel. So we are into art. We love art, local art. So we really wanted to bring the different local artists into the rooms and have that as a showcase for our guests. And we have a really amazing breakfast that my mom prepares.
I love that. It's just a whole family vibe going on. And I know from seeing all the reviews of your property that people really engage with that and they love that. You're local, you're a local family, and you've just got the most amazing, stunning views across Brazil. So tell me a little bit about the location and where you are.
Yeah, so we're located in Santa Teresa in Rio de Janeiro. And, you know, a lot of people think about Copacabana and Ipanema and the beach, but we're not located there. We're about 20 minutes into the little hills above. And we get a really nice cultural 1800s into the 1900s period time. So architecturally, you can definitely see the different buildings from that time, how the Portuguese built. We're located in a Spanish building. The builders, they came in the early 1900s and then they built the house in 1930. 2 Spanish families. So we have a more open style property with an inner courtyard versus the Portuguese style where it's all enclosed as a rectangle. So it's very cool to see that. And this is one of the most authentic neighborhoods to do so, to get that architecture. And we have a very nice community where we are. So you can definitely experience the culture of Brazil. Every week we have samba night and stuff like that. So the guests really appreciate being so close to the culture as well.
And so from my perspective, being at the swimming pool in your beautiful back garden area and overlooking that view and just being able to step out and then you're into these quaint little corridors and up steps
Yeah.
and around houses, and it's just so beautiful. It's kind of being in the heart of that cultural area and that district. And
Mhm.
so what made you decide to set up there?
Oh gosh, it was kind of by accident, but we really connected with the area for the reason of the culture, for the cultural reasons, the local art, the artistic vibe of Santa Teresa. So it was just it just worked out. We loved the property. That was a big draw for us. We wanted something where people could feel comfortable, but also have their privacy. So every level has very nice patios and deck and sunbathing areas. So we could hold, I think, on our max day about 30 people, but it's not where everyone's on top of each other. The layout is very nice. So we really love the property. We liked the cultural aspect of the community with the local artists, the walkability of the area. And it also reminded us of Lisbon and one of the quaint European towns because of the cobblestones. And then just being able to quickly get to that because we're 5 minutes away from the main street. So with all the music, the restaurants, and a little yellow bungee that comes through. So yeah, it was those three things. We did not want to be in Copacabana because to me that screams tourists and Miami coming from the US before here. So we wanted something that was really more cultural and local. So that's how that worked out.
And the lovely thing about this is that you have a very authentic local experience, which you are now weaving into every part of your business. So,
Yes.
not just people being able to come and stay in your beautiful building and enjoy the art and the local culture, but also the retreats and the educational programs that you're building for people who want to
Mhm.
do a number of different things. But first of all, let's go back to the beginning, which is all about your reset retreats. I'm really excited to hear how you've decided to set that up as part of your hospitality business and how you're going to be developing more retreats to help you get bookings for your accommodation, but also because you're so passionate about helping people and giving them these different experiences. So tell me about your reset retreat. What's all that about?
Yeah, so it's all about rest and relaxation and I guess conversations around goals, aspirations for life, for the guests. So we can talk it through, emotional awareness, mental health awareness. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Rest and relaxation, though, is the primary.
The primary one. So I think it's something
Mhm.
we all could do with because there's been so many issues over the past few years. And I know that mental health is something that is becoming more of a challenge for a lot of people. And yet, it's probably because we don't take enough time out for a bit of self-care. And we don't take time out of our normal environment with all the distractions of life. And we don't take a step back and maybe observe from a distance and say, is this really what I want to be doing? Is this really the way I want to be learning and living my life and supporting my family and all of these
Mhm.
things? So, what would you say
Definitely.
for you, from your customer's perspective and from your perspective, and now all your experience of running a business where you are, what would you say is the thing that really drives someone to say to you, you know what, actually, I do need some self-care. I do need to reset. I do need to be able to observe my life from a distance. What have you had so far from the feedback?
So I think it's a combination of two things. One, the property, the way it's set up, it's so peaceful and calming. From the moment you open the door, it's like you've entered paradise because it's like a garden. We have a garden down there, beautiful garden that you enter into, and then you see the beautiful turquoise paint of the building. So both of those help to calm our guests from the moment they enter. And Rio is a busy city. 7 million at least live here. So it gets very chaotic very quickly. And we love that. And everyone comes to Rio for that. But I do believe you could have both. So where we're located, with the property in Santa Teresa, you're a little bit outside of all the chaos. And then when you enter the property, you get that first initial, you enter into paradise, you see the calming, the healing and calm from the turquoise color, because we do incorporate that the color therapy. So that helps. So we get the guests who come and they don't realize how calming the property is. So they go out, they're running around, trying to see Christ the Redeemer, trying to see the stairs, Sugarloaf, the beach. And then they come back at the end of the day and they're like, oh my gosh, we're in our safe haven, we're in paradise again. And you really see the difference in their personality and their anxiety. You see that decrease dramatically. And they started telling me, they're like, I'm rested. I wasn't thinking of resting on my Rio trip, but I'm so happy to be able to rest because I didn't realize how much I needed it. And then we have the other guests who really want to rest, and that's all they do. So they seek us out, they connect with our pictures and our videos, and they're like, yes, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm only gonna come and rest. So those are the two types of guests we get, and both end up resting regardless, but some are intentional about that from the beginning, while others recognize that they can add that in towards the end of their stay.
So one of the things that I've noticed from working with lots of people who run retreats and hospitality like yours is that the host wants to show so much to the guest and wants them to explore and experience so much. And they do forget that the guest wants to rest. So that has to be built into the time. So I think probably as well, because the retreat leader's saying, I want to make sure they get maximum value from staying with me. But
Mhm.
actually, from the guest point of view, the value is in having that rest, that
Yeah.
downtime, that self-care time to take care of their mental health and to really feel that they're recharged and ready to return back to their normal
Mhm.
lives.
I think when we first opened, so we started in 2022 in June, and around, I would say March, yes, March 2023, we had a group of just four friends and they rented the whole property. And that's exactly what they wanted. They were intentional with it, but they didn't give me info beforehand. So they flew in from the US and they spent a week with us here, and that's all they wanted to do. So they decided every day as a group, they're going to do one activity. And around, I would say 4 p.m., 5 p.m., they came back. And I was thinking, yeah, they're going to go back out, explore the nightlife, explore the town, because that's what everyone comes for, at least up until that point. That's what our guests were interested in, seeing as much as they can and experiencing Rio day and night. And this group comes, and at 5 p.m., they're back. Sun sets at 5:36 here, by the way. And I'm thinking, yeah, they're gonna go out. Nope, they didn't. That was it. They decided they're gonna rest, focus on resting, and they went to bed.
Wow.
We would see them the next day, and they're like, yes, we had an early night, and they did that every night. They were like, one of the guests, he was like, I gotta go back looking rested. So he worked on a facial, he got his facial done, massages done, and just slept. He just rested, and that's what they wanted. And they were so happy with that. They enjoyed themselves and they got a lot of rest.
When you go away and you stay somewhere, you do kind of worry about, oh, am I going to be surrounded by other guests who are going to want to party and be noisy? So, what an
Mhm.
amazing thing to be able to just hire the whole place and have it to yourself and do
Yes,
whatever you want
yes.
to do and just have your friends and your tight-knit people around you and do whatever you like. I think to me, that
Definitely,
sounds just so
definitely.
nice.
It is, and that's why we named the property Jomo and not FOMO, because FOMO, as you alluded to with COVID and everything we've been going through, we've been so caught up with following others and trying to, be in the it group and the it travel destination. So now it's becoming so big to take a step back, focus on self-care, focus on destinations that are not dealing with over tourism. So we took on the name of Jomo, where you can just the joy of missing out, and we're fully for that. We embody it, and you can really feel at peace and not having to worry about other people pushing you to do things that you you don't necessarily want to do, at least in this point in your life.
Absolutely. And I think that by doing what you want to do and taking a step back and having that self-care time, you're not just replenishing your energy ready to go back to your daily life, but you're building resilience as well, because life is stressful, isn't it? Life is just really tough. So being able to deal with all of these tough moments, one after the other, after the other, after the other, and it just feels like it's constantly emptying your cup. And so
Mhm.
to go somewhere where you've got the joy of missing out, you refill your cup, you re-energize yourself, to me, that's just like a perfect break. And
It is,
one of the
yes.
things I also know about self-care, having a family and a business and a spouse and everything, these are all demands on our time, but
Mhm.
you're so much more able to give them fully yourself if you have yourself energy and you've looked
Yes.
after yourself. That's what they say, isn't it? When you're in an aeroplane, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then you do it for your family and your friends
Mhm.
and other people. And I think that's so much, that sums up self-care in a nutshell for me.
Mhm.
So when people come and stay with you for this self-care retreat and the reset retreat, how do you find the difference between when they arrived to then when they leave? What's your observations about them? How different are they?
So one of the things I've noticed is that, as you mentioned, life is busy and there's a lot that we're dealing with, each one of us. We all have a lot on our plates, whatever it may be. And I find that when they arrive, you can see it's on their plate, it's on their shoulder. They're carrying the anxiety, that's been built up, and they're busy constantly on the device, trying to connect in, trying to deal with other problems that they're being pulled into. And when they leave, or from the middle, I would say from the middle, we see them detaching from that. Not 100%, but they're being present in the time. So they've recognized that I'm going to get back to that. I'm going to get back to my mom. I'll get back to my sister, my brother, my husband, but I don't need to do it right now. I don't need to forget what I'm doing, jump into that where I'm not in my best self. So I'll deal with it later. And that is so good, because as you mentioned, we need to make certain we're in our best energy. We're at our best to deal with these fires we're dealing with daily. So that's a transition we're seeing, the transformation. And towards the end, they're fully embodying this, and they're telling me that I don't need to take this now. I don't need to handle this. I don't need to have my peace disrupted at this moment, but I'll be getting back to it in a little.
So I know from working with you that you know so many people in the local area. You are a connector, you're a networker. So if someone comes to you and you have a normal program of how you're going to deal with the retreat and what you're going to help them with, do you then tailor it to what they arrive with? So if they have issues with their energy or issues with something else, do you then go out and find people who would come in and help them specifically with that? How tailored and bespoke is the retreat that you offer?
Absolutely, Sarah. So one of the goals I wanted, because we're all different, our needs are different. So we have taken the approach where from the moment you enter, we have a welcome drink, and that we have a welcome massage that we work on to get you into the first day you arrive. And then from day two, the morning after, we have a reflexologist and a naturopathic professional who comes, and they analyze your vitals, your body, to see what may be off, what is, not at its optimal level. And then we cater our food and nutritional program to that for you, so that you can, benefit that way. So we just ended one reset retreat, and it was so funny. My guest, she was laughing because she's like, "Oh, my feet gave it away." It was so cute. She's like, "You told on me, you gave away my whole life." So, but it was spot on. And that is where, that connection start, the trust starts, because I'm here to help you. And when you read about something online, I get people calling me. They're like, is this a scam? Is it for real? What is this about? And I get it, because there's so much online that you cannot trust, not trustworthy.
Mm.
But just seeing as well that trust increase, and with the therapist, they start to grow, then the food they start to eat. So definitely it's all personalized.
And the food, from what I've seen and from what I know of you, is just all home cooked and it's beautifully
Mm-hmm.
prepared and it's so typically kind of Brazilian and colorful and oh,
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
So tell me about that process, because that must take a lot of work arranging all of that in-house.
Yes, but I found because we've been running as a boutique hotel as well. I've been able to find some really good people connect, as you said, with the local community, the local vendors. So that's been great. And in terms of the food, we have a very good vegan chef that we work with. Not to say our food is vegan, but I find that if you can make vegetables taste good, the meat is going to be spot on. So that's worked out very well. And she understands what I'm looking for, what my guests are looking for. So it's been a really good relationship.
When we first started talking, I'd have to say that in the whole process of working with you, you have been incredible, because every time we talked about something and what you could do to make this happen and materialize and be an amazing business, by the next time I spoke to you, you'd done it. You're such a doer, you're such a
Uh-huh.
worker, and we all need to be able to do that with our business to make it happen. It's not going to happen out of thin air. We need to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And you really did deliver. Your work ethic is just incredible. But one of the things that I was really interested with what you were going to offer, well, what you do offer, is that you do understand that your audience, the people who are interested in this kind of thing, sometimes need to stay for longer. And actually, it can become a work experience as well. So they are working away, they're away from their usual distractions, but they're still working. And yet they have all these additional services that you provide on top. So it's really a clever way of saying to people, we can be entirely bespoke. The retreat doesn't have to be for a short time, it can be for a very long time.
Mhm.
So tell me what motivated you to do that.
So we ended up having a remote work group stay with us for about a month. And that's when I was seeing, some of the guests would stay 2 weeks and they would complain, oh my gosh, I don't feel as if I've seen anything. I don't feel as if I've done much in Rio, because it is a very big city. And then on the other hand, we get guests who are coming for 2, 3 days and they're like, oh gosh, I saw nothing. So that's when I recognized that we had a really good opportunity to cater to both groups. You can come for 2 nights if you want to, and then you don't do a retreat. It's a short stay, but then you can do the retreat and then you can extend and stay longer and really benefit from the facility, the location, and the city that we're in.
And what an amazing place to work. For me, that would be ideal. So, Dacia, what encouraged you and motivated you to go to Brazil, the part of the world that you're in, and to start a unique, bespoke, boutique hospitality business?
Oh gosh, I would say it started in the US. So I studied engineering, but then life happened. We ended up with our own businesses, and I ended up with 7 properties in the US. One of the last ones, I was doing events and stuff like that, and really recognized my love for hospitality. And I speak 7 languages. So when we got here, I was like, okay, what could I do? Tourism is fun. I have some property experience. I love people, love meeting new people, new cultures, and then I can communicate. So I was like, okay, let's see what I can do. And that's how it started.
Oh, it's always impressed me about you. The fact that you can go in and out of different languages to make your guests feel completely welcome is just so impressive. So you have done a B&B business in a slightly different way. So you have used a different kind of model, and that is that you don't own your premises. So tell me about that and
Mhm.
how that happened.
Yeah, so in the US, I owned 7 properties and I was over it. And especially being in a new place, a new country, I didn't even speak Portuguese when I came to Brazil. So it was all new, and I wanted the quickest entry into this because things can take long. As you said, I'm a doer, so that stresses me when I have goals and can't reach them quickly. So coming to a new place, a new country, new city, new language, where everything is new, I didn't want to now be locked into a slow time frame, a slow model where it would take, who knows, maybe 1 or 2 years to even get started. So I decided to go the commercial lease approach. So I looked into that, and the owners were open to leasing commercially. So then it was a good fit.
This is often the thing that is a barrier for a lot of people. They say, I don't have the premises, I don't have the ability to go to different countries or to move to the place that I want to move to. So how long would you say that took you from deciding this is what I'm going to do to then finding the premises?
So in my case, it was very fast. It was to the point where it shocked me how quickly it was, because I woke up and said, okay, let me start looking at how large of a property I can find. And from that moment to finding the property, it was about a week. And then I saw it, loved the Tiffany blue. And after that, it took 3 months to get the contracts and everything finalized. So about 3 months.
And you are on your own doing that with your family. So you're the lead mind behind this. How have you been able to find the confidence to move forward? Because again, this is another barrier that I find that people say, oh, I'm so unconfident. I don't think I can do it on my own. And yet you did it as the lead for your family, with your children in mind, with your mother in mind, and making sure that you all had an amazing place to live. So how did you manage to find the confidence to take that step?
That's a good question, but I think part of it is, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So I think being in a different country and that drive, you got to figure it out. So that was definitely a drive for me, getting the kids settled, knowing that this was something they wanted to do as well. They've been a great support the whole way through. I always tell people we all have support in some form. So definitely use that. And my mom has been there all the way with me. I couldn't do it without her. But definitely, I would say the support and that need to get things up and running in a new place. I didn't have a lot of time to just sit and wait for something to happen. So that definitely was a driver for me.
And another thing, unfortunately, that I find with many of the people that I work with is that they are stuck in the headlights of decision making. They're overwhelmed with the decision making that's involved. So, do I have that property? Is it in that location? What kind of business model? All of these things play havoc with the decision making power. And many people don't realize that actually we only have a certain amount of decisions that we can make in a day. It's the way the brain works. So this is why Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook always wear the same t-shirts and the same clothes so that he doesn't have to make a decision that day about what he's going to wear. So he's saved a decision. You clearly have made all these decisions and you have been able to move forward. And that's fantastic because not making a decision stops you. So do you have a
It does.
technique for that? Are you just, in your gut, your intuition, it's the right
Definitely.
thing?
Definitely, and being an engineer helps, because I remember when I worked in oil and gas that you could never do 100% for any task. And our goal was actually to get to 80. The 80-20 rule is what we use. So the other 20 is fine. If you can get it, it's okay, let it go. And work that mentally. I know for me, being a perfectionist, sometimes it's a conflict I have internally, but my brain is telling me 80-20, but I do have an internal conflict where I'm like, yes, but it needs to be perfect. It needs to be 100%. And as you get older and you implement the 80-20, you realize that you'll never get to perfection. So that has always been as well a consideration for me to help me with decisions. I also have about 5 things in my wardrobe and I rotate it. So if you look at my pictures with the guests, you'll see me wearing the one. And yes, as you say, the things you could decrease and eliminate, the decisions that are simple that you just know you don't need to be waking up every day to make them is definitely a plus, along with the 80/20 rule. And that's been the two things I live by every day.
Mm.
And that's definitely helped me to push forward and to start projects and see them through.
I use something similar, not quite the 80/20. I love 80/20, by the way, and I do use that for a lot of other things, but I use a decision matrix, which is the most simple thing ever, but it really helps with decision making. It just helps you to kind of compartmentalize what you're trying to think about so that you can see clearly, because sometimes we're just stuck. And so it's sorting
Definitely.
things out into a set structure, and that helps us to be able to
Definitely.
see
And
clearly again.
one other thing you're making me remember is because with the retreat I created an art journal, and the guest who was here told me there was something that really stood out to her. It was a priorities for the week matrix. So where you have five options, you have it to start, an okay, delay, stuck, or cancel. So then for every task that you have to do, you put it into these five boxes. And if you're stuck or it's delayed, you could see what is causing it to be stuck, or you can focus on getting it unstuck. But if you recognize it's something you really shouldn't be going going down the road to do, you could maybe cancel it. So this was something that she said really stood out to her, to help her also with the decisions, the smaller decisions that lead to bigger decisions that she could work through.
Wonderful. And what a fantastic tool that you've given her to be able to use in her daily life, that she can help find some level of peace and less chaos and make progress with whatever she wants to do. And that's what you're now doing for other people who want to start a bed and breakfast business similar to yours, maybe go abroad, maybe go to your part of the world and start something. And so that's really exciting. So what you've done is you're giving people the opportunity to take part in a retreat and benefit from your many, 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 many hours of going through this whole process yourself and learning all the lessons. And now you're offering to share it with others by helping them understand how they can set something up, a B&B in a different country, the kinds of the requirements for licensing, things like that, the right property, how do you choose the right property and how does that work, and what's the different ways of securing it, how you get your unique selling position together, how you talk to your staff and get your staff happy and behind you and supporting you, and all these things. So an immense amount of information you're going to be able to share with people, and people will be able to hit the ground running and make massive progress very, very quickly. So tell me about that whole starting a bed and breakfast retreat idea. How does that come about? Was it purely because you just want to share and help people learn what you've already learned?
No, it's all about the guests, because going back to figuring out what to do and what your purpose in life is. So the guests have been telling me, they've been speaking to me through the boutique hotel side, and I get about, I would say, with the rest and retreat, about 90 to 95% of my clients are interested in resting in some form, either the last 2 days or throughout the whole stay. But then I get about, I would say, 50% of the guests asking me, how did I decide to start a B&B? And that it's a goal of theirs and they want to do it, but they don't know. Some want to retire and do it while others are thinking of doing it sooner. So that's what prompted me to do it, because I was repeating the same thing multiple times every week and decided, you know what, let's have a more intentional approach to this.
So do you actually bring people in as a group, or do you bring people in one at a time and give them one-to-one support? How does that
So
work?
that I'm currently in the process of defining, but right now we can do one-to-one, but at least coming in with this structure and goal. So because we have the facility at our disposal, I decided to not have a minimum or a maximum as such, more of a maximum, but definitely not a minimum. So if one person signs up, we're gonna do it. We're going to benefit. I'll be there for you every step of the way to answer all your questions and work through your plan, your country, what you want to do, and help you.
Such an amazing resource. So many times as well, people, as they then go through the process when they move away or they leave you and they go into their own world, wherever that might be, that they will continue to need that support. So they'll continue to want to phone you up, contact you and say, what would you do in this situation? And particularly, I find that when people are further down the line and they're getting reviews from guests and maybe a review wasn't quite as positive as they hoped and things like that, how do you deal with that negative review? So having you as a contact, a font of knowledge to be able to help them through those steps and that process, for me, I would say is incredibly helpful. And what's one of the things that most of your guests who are interested in this kind of opportunity, what kind of questions do they ask most commonly?
Oh gosh, how to get started, but also, of course, that's a common question, but also the fear factor. It's scary to be somewhere else. So throughout all the retreats, that's a question because we have solo travelers looking to come and they're afraid, they don't know what to expect. So I would say definitely, how did I overcome the fear? How did I push forward and get over that and decide, it's not going to be as scary as we all think? And then the other question is how to deal with the different personality types that we get, the clients that show up. And I do believe over this reset retreat that we just ended yesterday, the guest, she reminded me of a nice phrase. And this is what she said. She said, let us be who we're going to attract. And I think that could also be properties, as a property, let us attract the clients we want. So, because I have to say, I've been very fortunate. We've had over 400 guests, I would say, and we only have about 4 bad reviews. So we've been fortunate. And I think that's because we're attracting the right people to us. I'm attracting the right people to me, and the property is also a part of that, attracting the right clients. And that's definitely a question everyone has, the fear and how to attract the right people.
And in terms of marketing your property, that's absolutely about branding, isn't it? So branding is about how you make someone feel about what you do and your business and what you offer. And it also pulls people close to you who are important and are a perfect fit for your business. And it pushes those others away who aren't a perfect fit for your business. You can't be everything to everyone. If you're everything to everyone, you'll be nothing to no one.
Then you're nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I couldn't agree with you more. It's definitely something that I've seen in the world of unique hospitality. And one example comes to mind where a property was not quite as forthright about who they were for, and they didn't put their branding out there perfectly. They didn't push the wrong people away. So they ended up as a place with lots of dirt tracks and slightly muddy conditions when it's a rainy day. They had beautiful accommodation, but getting to and from that accommodation was a bit of a challenge. You certainly would want to have outdoor boots on rather than having high heels, and they ended up attracting people wearing high heels and glamorous outfits, and so things like that. No one wants to be in that situation because you're going to get a bad review no matter how beautiful your service is. So I think it's really key that we're all really honest about what we do and honest about our brand and understanding that we can't be everything to everyone.
And in line with that, Sarah, the review is just one part of it, but also the experience for the guests and for you as a host. It's so strained when you get the wrong people. So that is so true. It makes your day-to-day so difficult.
Absolutely. And then your business is no longer a pleasure. Your business is a struggle. It feels pressured and it feels stressful. That's not what you want if you're making a lifestyle change. For people who want to make a big lifestyle change and they might want to move to Brazil and they might want to change their life the way you changed yours moving from America to Brazil, you're offering a relocation retreat or
Yes.
a retreat that allows people to understand how they can make a massive change in their life
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
move from one country to another. So tell me a little bit about that, because that's intriguing to me.
Yes. So, with the other 50% of the guests asking me, how did I decide to move here? And all the questions that come with that, it was the inspiration behind this one. So it's two parts. So we start off with the option where you don't know where you want to go or where is right for you. So during the reset retreat, I was really able to do a little bit of that with the guests that we had. It was I asked her because she was telling me a lot of Americans are looking to move and a lot of Black American women are looking to move. So I asked her, I said, what are your criteria? Because with that, she was telling me she's reading a lot of stuff on Facebook and the groups about these countries. And I looked at her and I'm like, okay, this was 2 days of being with her. And I'm like, none of those countries would work for you. So what is your list? So I decided to do a little game and go through the process with her. And she gave me her list. And I came up with 5 countries for her that she should look at as a possibility. And it was not any of the ones she's been reading up about. So that was different to see because, we all have different interests. Our personalities are different. We're looking for different things. Our goals are different. So, really helping people understand what it is they're looking for is the first step. That's part one. And that's very personalized. And then the second part is, well, if you know you really want to move to Rio, like that's been your dream for 10 years now. We're here to help you. So I can help you get everything set up legally, business-wise, living-wise, lifestyle-wise. If you're a family, of course, we can help you with schools, understanding after school activities and how that works for children. So yes, so that's the 2 groups that we're working with right now.
So one of the other industries that I work in, as well as retreats, as well as hospitality, is unique experiences such as glamping and glamorous outdoor hospitality. And one of the things I often get asked is, how can I do this abroad? How can I do this in another country? And that's exactly what you're offering with bed and breakfast. The fact that people can tap into a local expert like yourself and really understand things like the cultural and local experiences, how to navigate the local area, how to navigate things like, one thing I've always noticed when I've gone abroad, there's local fees and then there's tourism fees. And how do you deal with that? And how do you make yourself known as a local rather than a tourist? And how does that work if you need to have some maintenance done on your property? Or how do you seek properties? And how do you think about your comfort and your convenience of your new life and your family and their new life? So how does it work with you? Because there's so many elements here that people would want to tap into your knowledge for, and probably more than they could ever get really from one retreat event.
So if their interest is to be in Rio, is to be in Brazil, we can help get them set up to live here in 10 days. Through the remote worker visa, we help them decide, work or study if they're American or whatever other options that may be available to them. And we go through that because one of the biggest things here in Brazil is the banking. Getting the banking figured out, getting money from abroad into Brazil is not as easy as it used to be before COVID in the past. So there's some quirks with that, or just knowledge, as you say, just understanding how it is done locally and what to do and what not to do. So we go through that, and about 10 days is good because I'm here to help you. If you're doing it on your own, it's going to be months because we have the social security number and you read conflicting ideas online. Even getting a SIM card is difficult. So because we can streamline the process, we can get that in about 10 days. But then I am here for you pre and post. If it's simple, we can start gathering all the paperwork, getting all of that done so that when you get here, you could just hit the ground going. And then for the post, to be helping you through that process. Now, during the 10 days, if your goal is to come and live in Brazil, we'll connect you with the professional network of the legal, the financial, the realtors, so that you can start analyzing and working with them to get your needs done. And then we'll keep up with you, yes. Because the expat community here, we need to be with each other. So we will continue doing that. Now, if you are looking to go elsewhere, potentially, and if going elsewhere is a fit for you, we are providing a different type of service. So we have more of a virtual consultation program where we can gather everything from afar and do that for you. And then we have the other option where you can come spend time with me and we still go through the goals and that type of stuff. But then we take it further where I can even meet you in country and take you through. Because I've lived in, let's say, 4 or 5 countries. I've traveled to 40 and I know them pretty well. So I've been keeping up with all sort of information, as you would say, random information about every country, so that I could also hold your hand in a different country and take you through the different steps you need to help you become a resident there.
And that's so valuable because often we go off down a path thinking that we're doing the right thing and we end up, oh no, we have to turn around and go back and do something else because we didn't know the local differences. And it can be such a waste of time to do all of that. And also it can cost so much money, can't it? So to be able to
Yes, and
make the
time is
most.
money too.
Absolutely. Yes, this is the thing. Time is money. It's so important that we don't forget that. That's
Mhm.
absolutely bang on because especially these days as we're so busy, when we need to make sure that we are as efficient as possible. And it means the
Yeah.
whole process is painless. And that's
Mm,
what we want because moving countries is stressful. Even thinking about moving countries
yeah,
is stressful. So to have your in-country fixer is such a brilliant thing to take the headache out of it all.
definitely. And if you could do as much upfront in the right direction as you're mentioning, Sarah, that's the way to go. Because I spoke with some people where they're so set, they've picked countries that they've heard about or that others are going to, and they want to go, but they don't have the same lifestyle or situation or circumstances. So that may have worked for whoever they're following or listening to, but for them it wouldn't work. But they have spent so much gray matter, so much brain power zoning in on that one place that at this point in time, sometimes a year, at this point in time, it's so hard for them to be open to the fact that this may not work for them. And they keep pushing through. And at the end of it all, forget the part of being unhappy about it. Because as you say, it's stressful moving. Even when that's the perfect place for you and the right fit, there's a lot that you can plan for and a lot you can't. So when you add it all up together, you could make yourself be less stress or more stress. And with the people some of the people I speak to, I can really see the path they're going down and then the possibilities they're not able because of their circumstances to do the same thing. But in a different country, they may be able to. So, for example, for Americans, there's some limitations in terms of residency in other countries where you may only be able to teach English. And for someone, that's going to be great being able to teach English. For me, though, as an example, I don't know if I have the patience to do so, to teach English. And I know some countries, when I was quite a few years ago, they wanted the American accent or the British accent, and I have neither. So then that's a limitation. So you may be following someone who has an American accent or a British accent, and they're teaching English, And because you speak English, you say, oh, yes, I'm going to teach English too. But if you have an accent that the country is not looking for, even though your English is perfect, that's a barrier for you. So I find that not consulting, if we're going to use that word, with the right person personally to make this personal for you, it could really turn into a nightmare very quickly.
So if somebody's speaking to you and saying, Dacia, I want to move to this country and for these reasons, and you feel from your experience of the country, you feel it's not quite the right thing, how would you deal with that? Would you be really upfront with them? Would you try to encourage them to think differently? How would you do that?
It depends on the person and their personality type. Some people are very calm and it feels like we're talking right now, Sarah. I think, we really had a good vibe from the beginning. So with us, if you were to come to me with that situation, I would definitely go along with the way we communicate, our communication style. And I would go back to what are your priorities? So that's where I keep going back to. What is important to you and what are you looking for? What are your goals? And then you'll repeat that to me. We'll go through it, you'll repeat it, and we'll get to the bottom and I'll say, well, do you think this is the country you would like to go to? But personally, my 2 cents on this is going to be, Sarah, based on this point that's important to you, based on this goal that's important to you, this is not going to be the right fit. So how do you feel about that? Is this a goal or is this really not as important to you as you're thinking right now? Can you maybe remove that from your list or take a step back? So then this is a conversation we have that way, where I highlight to you the differences maybe in your list versus what is going to happen there in that country, how you may feel. And then we may watch videos of the people you've been following and we'll recognize, and then I can point out certain things those people are talking about that you may have overlooked that do really go against your goals and your inspirations. And then we go from there. Now, if it's a more headstrong personality type, as we'll say, like I had someone reach out to me as an American family, and they really want to move to Norway. It's been their goal to move to Norway, and that's their only country. And I asked them questions. I said, okay, what about another Scandinavian country? Sweden, Denmark. And they were like, no, we're set on Norway. I said, okay. So then at that point, I started giving them the difficulties with that what they may come up against. It's not going to be as easy, and this is going to be your option. You either move with a company in the US or you go through a study program at a university, but that's difficult as you get older. You're not looking to potentially do another degree. But I threw that out there. And then I also told them about a nice program where you can do like a gap year in Norway. And I said, well, from there, then you can get a feel for what may come next, may accidentally happen. But to be intentional about moving to Norway as an American, it's going to be difficult, very difficult versus maybe Sweden or Denmark. So I was more upfront with them. And I also went through the reasons why. And then they can go process that. But they were very, very headstrong about just that one country. So I had to be honest with them.
I love that whole true coaching approach. So allowing them to lead in terms of what they want, and then you helping them understand the consequences of whatever the decision they're making, but without actually telling them. So they're coming to that realization themselves, which is fantastic.
Trying to.
Trying to, yeah, absolutely. But in all of this and in what you're offering and what you were suggesting there about them taking the gap year, it's saying, try this out, see how it fits. If you're not 100% sure that it's a right fit for you, if you're getting that kind of feedback, maybe just try something out. So For anyone who's interested in coming to Brazil, they can come and try it out with you without any major commitment to their life and everything they're doing. And they can do it for any length of time as well, which is what's fantastic. So they can stay with you for, well over a month so that they can work in the area and see what's the internet like. Will that support me with my nomadic work lifestyle? These are all questions that need to be answered, don't they? So all of this together, I think is fantastic. And I know that we've talked a lot about you marketing your retreats and getting the word out and helping people find you so that they can connect with you and make the most of all these amazing offers that you've got. So from your experience so far and what we've talked about, because we've talked about a lot of these things, and as I said, you're a fantastic doer, so you just get it done, which is amazing. Give me one example, maybe two examples of what you found so far has helped you the most in terms of connecting you with your potential audience.
I would say definitely social media. We're in a world where there's so many Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So I think finding what works in your area, in your region, is going to be a good starting point, getting out there. And then also the online channels. So we're on booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb. And this goes back to like the trust issues. If we're only one place, people may be like, okay, is this real? So being across multiple online channels has definitely helped, because I've gotten, I would say, many guests I can say that have found me on multiple sites, not just one. And then they come directly, or they're coming to me directly, but they also found me on other sites. And that definitely helps with the trust. And they're seeing the different reviews on the different channels as well. So we're also on retreat channels and not just the hotel ones too.
And there's a lot of trust issues since COVID. You could call it the hangover of COVID, the consequences of the pandemic. It means that people have been treated badly by some companies, some businesses. There were a lot of travel companies that cancelled things at the last minute and people didn't get the full refund that they felt they were due and things like that. So there is a lot of erosion of trust. And certainly building trust is one of the most important elements. And I think you being who you are and the fact that you are happy to get in front of the camera and just say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is where you can find me, and here are my reviews. It really helps to build that trust, and it really helps to generate the conversation around your offerings. And have you found it easy to do things like this, having conversations online and doing that kind of thing?
Definitely, because as you say, it's part of the business now. We need to, if we're not, as business owners and as hosts, not going to take the time to connect with people, maybe before, it's a missed opportunity. Because for me, for one, in Brazil, we use WhatsApp a lot. This is for everything. And I'm quick. As soon as someone books with me, I'm like, please reach out to me on WhatsApp. I'm here to talk about questions, concerns. You can see me and we can do a video call. So it doesn't have to be long, but, just having that connection and being able to tell the person that you're here for them, I think is worth so much.
And that really helps to counteract buyer's remorse, which, as we know, is something where a buyer buys something and then they think, oh my goodness, did I make the right decision? Should I have bought that? Maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should cancel. Whereas if you're getting onto WhatsApp straight away and saying, here I am, reach out if you need anything, and that completely dissipates their concerns and it makes them realize they did make the right decision and they are doing the right thing. So I think that's fantastic that you're doing that. And it does take time, but I think it really does help to bring more success to your business, and it will certainly get you more word of mouth referrals. And as we know, certainly in hospitality, we need to have guests talking
Mm-hmm.
about us, bringing in new guests, and
Definitely.
also the existing
Yes.
guests coming back time and time again. So,
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
so what are your plans in terms of where you might have a little bit of rest and recuperation time? Because it's important for everyone to have a bit of time off. Have you got any plans or not yet?
Yes. Well, I was in Chile last month. We did 2 weeks. Yeah, we went to get some cold weather. So the kids got to ski and snowboard. So that was great. And then for me though, as part of my self-care, I prioritize daily, taking at least 30 minutes to do something for myself. And then weekly, I have my hair routine, my face, my nails, and going through that. So yeah, that's important for me because I'm actually an introvert. But from the reviews you'll read, everyone's going to think I'm an extrovert. So for me, it's so important. As much time as I spend with others, I need to also spend some me time too.
I think that it's really good to know whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. I did the Myers-Briggs personality assessment and realized
Yeah.
that I was introverted. I knew it
Mhm.
anyway. But the thing I also found from doing that introverts are really good at pretending to be extroverts. And
I
this is
think
why
so.
this is why I can speak from stage to a huge hall of, hundreds of people, and it's fine. It's what I do. But yes, I am an introvert too. And so
Mhm.
introverts have to replenish their energy, their personal energy, don't they?
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So that's me every day, and that is a focus. That's why I think the reset retreat works because as a person, I keep calm. My anxiety level is very low, and the guests can see that. They can feel that. So
Yeah.
then I'm a good person to guide them and to help them remember that this is important. Self-care is important for everyone in your life. It's not selfish, it's selfless because when you're in the best energy, you're the best friend, the best mom, the best sister, brother, daughter. So,
Yeah, I could not agree more. That is absolutely spot on. And it's a perfect way for us to end our conversation. It's just been
yeah.
so amazing to speak with
Thank you,
you.
Sarah.
And I have loved working with you. It's just been so invigorating because you have such a lovely energy.
Sarah, it's been a pleasure as well today. Thank you, Sarah. Bye bye.
Bye. If you want to visit Brazil, take part in Dacia's reset retreats, or share her expertise on how to start up a new business and life abroad, visit her over at Casa Jomo, that's CASAJOMO, and I'll include the link in the show notes.